Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. In this episode, we're off to South Australia to review the Bream Masters South Australia Tackle Tactics Championship round of 2025. This one was held on the Port River November 2nd, 2025. Look, it was a great little round and a culmination of a great year. So let's roll the intros and I'll get into it and tell you what happened. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target bream on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite bream competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here is your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
All right. For those of you who've listened to the show for a while, you'll know that sometimes in South Australia, they have some pretty tough rounds. I think there was one round where I think only one fish or two fish were caught. But this round was not one of those. This was a round where they had some really good results and typically high bag weights. Not the biggest ones they've had down there, but definitely decent. It was also the culmination of a fantastic year for Paul Cook. Now, he took out pretty much everything, and we get into this in the back end of the show, but big shout out to Paul. He's had a cracking year, and I'll tell you right now, I've already done the first round for this year, and he's done very well there. What I do want to do is round out the top five and tell you what people caught, because I think it was pretty significant. In equal fourth place, we had Craig Richards with 1.81, tying with Ryan Ottens at equally 1.81. Ben Harrison just cracked the 2 kilos at 2.01. And then Josh Bland in second place at 2.09. And of course, Paul Cook with 2.17. We'll say I bumped into Josh Bland at the Real Connections Day up in Sydney. I was surprised to see him. It was kind of out of place. I'm used to seeing him on the other end of a video call. So there you go. All right. This is a great round. Look, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. Here we go. Okay. So first up in third place, I have an angler dropping his 3 fish for 2.01, which landed him in third place. With me, I'd like to welcome back to the Bream Fishing Project, Ben Harrison. Welcome back, mate.
Thanks for having me, Deethy.
Mate, nice little result for you. The Port River's been all right.
Yeah. I've sort of figured it out a little bit now, so I'm not doing too badly.
Yeah, nice. And I looked at the results, like obviously really top, 160 grams or so for you from third to first. Like any of you could have really got it.
Yeah, really only would have taken one fish, and yeah, that's about it.
That's what happens, mate. That's what happens. All right, let's backtrack a little bit. Tell us about pre-fishing leading into this one. What'd you get up to?
So I wanted to get out for a pre-fish because I hadn't fished in the port for quite some time, and South Australia's been experiencing a rather toxic algal bloom, as you might have heard.
Yeah.
So, and that's created this huge fish kill statewide. So I sort of wanted to get out and have a bit of a look to see how much it had affected the Port River on pre-fish. So decided to go and do a pre-fish Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of car trouble in the morning, got me a bit of a late start, but ended up getting on the water about 8 o'clock and headed to one of my spots. I didn't want to go like stinging it too much. So I just put a couple of casts in and got busted off straight away, like by one fish in pre-fish.
Okay.
Well, okay, this fish here. So I moved off to another spot, moved off to one of the wharves that I normally go and fish. And as I cast, I just did a really bad cast and it got hooked up on the jetty. And I was kind of like, okay, well, I'll just pedal in and go and have a look. And as I pedaled in, I spooked about 400 or 500 fish.
Wow. Okay. So just a couple?
Yeah, just a few. And they weren't small fish either. They were quite big fish.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought I'll just leave that one alone and keep pedaling on. So as much as I was itching to go back there and fish it, I just left it alone. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just pedaled around and found a couple of... I wanted to go and check out a spot like way up on the other side of Barker's Inlet. It's St Kilda Breakwater. But there's a bit of a risk getting through one of the areas with the tide. If it gets too low, you won't be able to get back.
Okay.
So I managed to get through and I went over there and I found a couple of fish over there, but it wasn't enough to make me a solid plan to get back over there.
Okay.
Headed back down, came back through. we had a bit of a dodge tide, so it wasn't too much tide movement. It was only like
Mhm.
1.7 to about 1.5 or 1.6 or something like that. Like it wasn't very much,
Okay.
which allowed me to get back through. And yeah, ended up going and fishing in a couple of other spots, and I came up on one mangrove edge and put a cast in with a crabby and got busted off like straight away into right into the mangrove roots, and that was it. So
Okay.
pedaled back a little bit, retied, put another cast in, got busted off almost instantly again. And
Okay.
I'm like,
Wow. That's the theme.
okay, this is a good spot. I'm leaving. So I left, went to another spot. Every spot I went to, I put one cast in and got one fish. One
Right.
fish. And it was like that all day. I must have caught 30 plus fish during the pre fish,
Wow.
not in the same area, just in all different areas. So I was fully convinced that it was going to be like a fantastic comp and everyone was going to get fish. And so, yeah, it turned into be quite a good free fish. And I would have, if we weighed the bag in that I caught free fish, I would have had well over 3 kilos. Like that's how good it was.
That's mental. Wow. All right. You said you got busted off a couple of times. What size leader were you running?
I was running 6 pound.
Okay.
I sort of upped the size a little bit because I knew some of the size of the fish, so I upsized to 6 to 7 pound. That Daiwa,
Yeah.
the red.
The crosslink.
Yep. So yeah, I was just running that, and they were still roasting me. Like I just couldn't stop.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Wow.
They're very angry, hungry fish on
Yeah.
Saturday. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. All right. So, given all that, what was your plan leading into the comp day?
So my plan leading into the comp day was to head to my usual mangrove edge, work my way up it because the tides were about where I wanted them to be, around sort of like that 1.7 meters, which puts the water not up into the mangroves, but just onto the edge of it.
Yeah.
Leaves a bit of a channel along where I like to fish. And so it was like perfect for what I wanted. So I headed straight there first thing in the morning and ended up pulling 2 fish off that edge. And one was a quite reasonable one. It was a 900 grammer, which
Okay.
wasn't too bad. And then, yeah, and that's sort of how my day went to start with.
To start with. So, you had 2 fish early.
2 fish by like 10 to 7. Yep.
Wow. That's hectic.
Yep.
So, on crabbies as well?
Yep. On crabbies, I decided like the day before I threw the Hurricane Twitch 40 up on the edge and I got busted off by the fish straight away. So I was sort of leaning towards using hard bodies, but then the crabby bite was so good on Saturday that I actually went and bought more crabbies and thought this is going to be on.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I just started throwing crabbies and I just ended up getting heaps on crabbies and also the Hurricane Skimps, the war pike.
Oh, yeah. 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 Cool. Cool. And okay, so you said it, you got a bunch. Did you continue to fish sort of mangrove edges or had what you do?
Yeah, I continued up that edge. I lost one good fish. I came that on the Sunday they were aggressive bites, but they tended to be just very timid bites. So they tended to just grab part of the plastic, and then when you went to strike at them, they'd either spit it out or rip the plastic off the hook.
Okay.
Yeah, I was having a lot of trouble like connecting with the fish. I was getting a lot of bites, but just not that solid clunk hookup that you normally get.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And what about the fish that you did get? Did you get any that had it all the way down?
Yeah, the couple that I did, they had it all the way in. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so how'd your day progress? Like you had a couple early, like how'd you go fill in your bag and
I had two very early, and then I moved up to the wharf where I normally go and fish, where I saw those 400 or 500 fish sitting on it.
yeah.
Put a nothing, absolutely. They had totally disappeared, like gone.
Mate, you spooked them the day before, mate.
No, well, as I said, I didn't even put a cast in on the day before. I saw them there, and I went, I'm just leaving this. I'm going. Yeah, they were. I ended up I stood there for a while and put a few casts in, and just wasn't getting any sort of like nibbles or bites or anything like that. So I decided to up stumps and head over to the other side of the river where I got busted off in the mangrove roots the day
Mm.
before. Got over there, absolutely nothing again. Like there was nothing there.
Okay. So, in terms of the 2 days, was there any difference in time of day or tide, or was there any sort of reason for that?
Not time of day, but the tide movement was a lot different. So it went from the day before being what we call a dodge tide, where there's very little tide movement,
Mm.
to the next day being 1.9 down to zero point 0.9. So it was quite a
Oh,
significant movement in tide,
yeah. Wow.
which sometimes I find is good, but other times it can move the fish off where you want them to be. Like, so if the tide drops on one of my edges, if it gets down past sort of like 1.6, 1.5, they move right off it. They won't be there at all.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, that's at least there's some difference. Like, if it's the same conditions, doesn't make any sense. But obviously, the water movement was different between the 2 days.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. How'd you go filling out the rest of your bag? And you obviously got some better fish.
Yeah. So I progressed down. There was another spot that I'd got to on pre-fish, and there's sort of a bit of a drain coming out underneath this like sort of wharfy area. And as I come down, because I actually pulled quite a good fish off it on the pre-fish, and I knew there was a couple of good fish there. So as I was pedaling down, and then all of a sudden I copped a glimpse of Craig Richards in that spot.
Oh, no.
I had a little bit of a moment where a few swear words come out, and I was kind of like, ugh, damn it, like, and like, you're in my spot. And he's like, yeah, obviously I'm fishing in the right spot because you came here.
Exactly.
And I said, look, I'll let you have it. I chatted to him for a bit, and he'd been roasted by a couple of good fish in there, and I just sort of let him have it. Had a bit of a chat with him, and then moved a bit further down the wharf to another spot where I sort of had seen a couple of big fish the day before, and dropped the crabby down in the little corner that I normally do, and just gave a little bit of a tea bag, and all of a sudden come up tight and got my third fish.
Okay.
Wasn't a super big fish, but it was only like a 500 grammer, but it was enough to fill my bag, which I was happy about.
100%. And what time of the day are we talking?
And that was still sort of around about 8 o'clock.
Okay. So early.
So at that point, after I'd got that fish, I hung around there for a bit and got a couple of smaller ones that weren't upgrades. So I just thought, I'll start pedaling down to my other spots that I normally go to down a bit further down towards Port Adelaide. So I pedaled down there and got underneath the fuel wharf where I normally go and started casting, and then the rain and the lightning started to come.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Oh yeah, so there was a bit of a thunderstorm around while we were all fishing, so I think everyone was a bit nervous about that. I just sort of got under this wharf and put a couple of casts in, and again, like, was coming up like losing a lot of fish, like just not they were just pulling the plastic off and not actually connecting with the hook, and I'd hook up for a little bit and then they'd spit the hook or spit the plastic out, and it was getting a little bit frustrating
Mm.
at that point. But then also I was starting to get a bit nervous about the lightning because that seemed to be getting a bit more, and the rain was getting a little bit. So I sort of put my rods down and ducked underneath the wharf, and just as I did that, there was a nice crack of lightning and thunder.
Yay. That's a bit scary.
Yeah. So at that point, I sort of, I still had my bag, but I hadn't upgraded any fish, and I sort of worked my way down all the way to what they call the Adelaide Brighton Cement.
Oh, yeah.
Picked up a couple of small fish, but again, they weren't upgrades. They were just like same size fish. Worked my way across the other side of the river, and I decided, like, I was fishing this rock wall, and I decided to switch up using tied on the Dyra rolling crank in this
Oh,
little
yeah.
matte brown one, cast it up into this little corner that I normally go and fish, and whack, get hit and reel it in and get a 600 grammer. So I was like, oh, this is good. We've got an upgrade.
This is better.
That's great. So I just sat in that little spot for a little bit. I got 7 fish out of the same spot
Wow.
on the same look, upgraded just like 10, 15 grams every time,
Yep.
slowly upgraded. That was good. So I got a couple of little upgrades there, kept moving around. And then I'd just come up in between these two big container ships that were loading up. And there's a a little wharf comes down, like some poles, and they're up against the rock edge. And I cast the rolling crank in up along the rock wall underneath these pylons that were coming down.
Yeah.
And I was just slowly cranking it back, and all of a sudden it just went clunk.
Yeah.
And it just stopped. And I'm like, oh, it's just hooked up. And then all of a sudden it just went on for an almighty run and just straight away and pings me on the edge of this.
Oh,
Like that was a bag widden fish, that one.
that was a proper one.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. I was sort of and that was coming up to like nearly sort of 1:15, close to end of the comp too. So I retied on the lure that got me the big fish in the basin.
Yep.
And kept working that along that edge and picked up another upgrade, which was like a 70 grammer.
Yep.
Just kept working my way up that edge. Picked up another 4 or 5 fish.
Okay.
Not upgrade. Yeah, they just seem to be like really starting to come on and hungry. There's about 15 minutes to go, and I was directly opposite the launch on the other side of the river in this little bay, and I cast, and I had another good upgrade on, and
Oh.
I pulled the hooks on it like right next to the yak.
Oh.
And then at that point, it was only like getting down to about the last 10 minutes, and I knew that I could just make it back over.
Yep.
One last cast in, hooked up on another fish, getting a little bit lazy, and you could call it the rookie mistake.
Yeah.
Just grabbed the leader and went to lift it in instead of getting the net, and hook, it snapped. See you later.
No. Oh, that's tragic.
Yeah, it was my own fault though.
Yeah. Wow.
So at that point, I've just gone, oh, enough's enough. I think, I've got a reasonable bag. So I just headed back in, and that was my day. But
Yep.
yeah, I don't mind losing lures to fish when it's kind of like that. It was the last 10 minutes, and I was just trying to rush it into the kayak. And yeah, that was a mistake.
Ouch. Ouch. Oh, well. Oh, well. I've still ended up with a pretty good bag. Like, obviously, third place is pretty great.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that. What you sort of want in there, around that 2 kilo, maybe a bit more. So
Yeah. Do you think the bite changed from plastics to hard bodies, or was it just location, or what do you think that was about?
I think I just wasn't dialed in quick enough. I think that hard body bite was actually there a lot sooner, but because I'd had such a good day on the crabbies and the hard bodies the day before, the crabbies was stand out more than the actual hard body. But
Sure.
then I think the hard body probably would have overtaken. I probably made that mistake. I didn't throw that to start with, and yeah, I probably could have ended up with a better bag if I'd started throwing that a bit sooner. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. And I take it from your comments before that you're sort of on 6 and 7 pound leaders. So you had a fair bit of leader going.
Yeah, yep.
Cool.
There's definitely some good fish in the Port River at the moment, and yeah, some of them, they know where to go when they want to. That's for,
Not obviously being from the area, it feels like they do really transition in and out of the system a bit.
yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah.
I'd heard from a friend about 2 weeks ago, that a whole bunch of brim had moved in up near the St Kilda breakwater. That's kind of why I went up there to start with. And like he was talking 50 centimetre plus fish,
Yeah.
big schools up there. And
Okay.
never ever heard of that in the Port River like that for a long time. So I wanted to get up there and have a look. And that's why I went, and I saw fish, but they weren't anywhere to that size. And there wasn't enough of them to sort of convince me to go and do that, because as I said, if I got across there on that Sunday, I wouldn't have been able to get back through, and it would have been a long paddle back. I mean, a really long paddle back.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. So not the greatest plan.
No, not at all.
Fair enough. Well, look, all in all, it sounds like you had a pretty good day. End up in third place. What did you get to take home for third?
I got $170, a little prize pack that consisted of an Akuma reel, a bunch of soft plastics, a few hard body lures, some mass lures. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
nice.
pretty good little score, that.
Absolutely. Was there any rolling cranks in there?
No rolling cranks. There was one of my favourite Hurricane Fat 37s
Beautiful.
in one of my favourite colours too, so that was good.
Very good. All right, mate, that's pretty awesome. Look, you've had a good year. Tell us Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Look, I'll have to start by big shout out to my wife letting me do all this. Like the last few weeks, I've been sort of getting out just about every weekend fishing, and whether it be chasing brim or chasing yellow belly, it's been she's really good and let me do that. And also big shout out to Lee and the guys that run the BMSA. They do a fantastic job with what they're running and doing, and I know it's not an easy job that they're doing, but they do a really great job in doing what they do. So I keep it up. It's fantastic that they're running a series for us here, and yeah, thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, mate. Well, look, congratulations. Third, like we said, is pretty good. Yeah, I look forward to talking to you next year.
Yep, no worries. I can guarantee you're going to.
Very good. Good on you, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, Deethy.
Okay, so up next in second place, we have an angler who dropped his three fish measuring or weighing 2.09 kilos, giving him second place. I have Josh Bland. Welcome back to the show, mate.
Thanks for having me, DT. Appreciate it.
It's a bit like deja vu, mate.
If we can keep it going, then I'm more than happy.
Exactly. And look, for the listeners who don't fully understand that, tell us the results of the last time we spoke.
So the last time we spoke was exactly the same as this one. We had a first place with Paul and a second place with me. So heaps happy to have that outcome.
Absolutely, especially in this round. All right, mate, leading into this one, I spoke to Ben earlier in this episode about or he spoke briefly on the algal bloom and all that sort of stuff that's going on down there. Has that impacted you?
Yeah, so the algae bloom has affected just about every fisherman in South Australia. It's nothing less of an ecological disaster. So I think we should give it the respect and appreciation that that deserves. But in saying that, the brim fishing, especially this round, has been really good. And I think if I was to take an educated guess on this, it's probably related to the fact that we've got an estuary species that in South Australia tends to leave estuaries and go out into the main gulfs. And it's just not really a safe haven for them anymore. So my assumption would be that they're staying in the systems a little bit longer, or they're in greater numbers within the estuaries. And so the brim fishing appears better. But even though the fishing is good, it's not necessarily a sign of things are going good. So if you
Sure.
take a point at just about any other saltwater species, especially the ones outside of estuaries, they're doing it really tough right now. Kingfish up in the north are going really well. Again, it's possible that it's related to them all being pushed into certain areas. But yeah, overall, it's been a rough time for everyone and for the fish especially.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hopefully it can bounce back. And yeah, I think that you make the point probably well that maybe it's not that it's going that well. It's more that they've just moved into those safe havens, which in this weekend turned out to be where you guys were fishing.
Yeah, 100%. So I think anyone who looks at how well this tournament went and how well the brim fishing is going, I think just have in the back of your mind that a lot of species are not doing well, and the reason the brim are doing well might not be for good reasons. So, yeah,
Sure.
hopefully the scientists and the management behind our fisheries and the environment can make some strides on this and not only try to fix the problem, because I don't think it's an easy fix at all, but help safeguard it and prevent it from happening again. That's really the goal we want to aim for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's get into this one. In terms of pre-fishing then, what did you get up to?
Zero. Literally,
Zero.
no,
Love it.
no pre-fish or anything. I know what I like to do in the port, and every time I fish the Port River, I rack my brain with different ideas and what to do, and I'm quite indecisive because if your listeners have heard previous episodes on this particular location, it has three different that you can go up, and because of the distance between them, you kind of have to pick one. And so what you in each arm you have different stuff to fish, whether it's mangroves, man-made structure, or rock walls, flats, that sort of thing. So you kind of once you make that decision, you're kind of fixed onto that one thing. That's not entirely true, but to do it
Yeah.
properly, I think that is pretty accurate. So Normally, I overthink it or think it appropriately. I don't know. And try to work out what the best answer is. I didn't want to do that this time. I wanted to be really relaxed. I hadn't done many of these tournaments this year, so I wasn't in the Angler of the Year points. Not that this one mattered for that anyway. So it was mostly just a social fish, and I picked the one thing that I really enjoy doing in the port, and I stuck to it.
Fair enough. Sounds good to me. All right, let's roll into competition day then. Tell us what your plan was and what you got up to.
So I have two particular areas that I really like. There's these rock walls and a series of man-made structures, so bridges, pylons, that sort of thing, all found in a central location. It's reasonably close to the launch point, maybe a 20-30 minute paddle on the Hobie. But you're approaching the Port Adelaide township. You're pretty close to the town itself. And so what you're presented with is with a lot of man-made structure. And so I like structure fishing. Rock walls especially, I tend to do reasonably well with them. So there were the two particular areas. There's a bit of a dock or bay that has a rock wall at the end of it that tends to have good fish, and it goes from nothing, right, down to 8 or 10 meters on a high tide. So
Yeah.
it's a really big drop off, and it only happens in maybe 10 meters of distance from shore. So you can really work a lot of the water column and still be in contact with rocks, which is pretty unique about it.
Wow.
And then on the other side of the river, right next to it, you've got it's a concrete works, so a manufacturing company, and they've got all their docks and pylons and metalwork and everything you can imagine on the other side, which is also accompanied with a rock wall. So it's structure central, and the really unique thing about it in terms of the rest of the river is you're so close to the deep water in the main channel, so you tend to get good flow through there as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it does sound good. You got, like you said, you got good flow, steep drop-offs, rocks, man-made structure. Sounds like a lot in one small area.
Yeah, there's a lot of food, and not that it changed my plan for the day, but I was speaking to Paul before I fished the day, and he lives near the port, and so he was saying that he's been seeing a lot more bait fish coming into the system, which was like a hallelujah for me, because I know that this sort of time of year you tend to get those schools of anchovies come in, and I didn't know whether the algae bloom would have affected this. So the fact that he was saying that they were still there meant, oh, yep, I'm sticking with the lures that I like to throw here, and we should be good. And turns out
Okay.
it was good.
It was a good plan. All right. Tell us how it started then for you.
So the way I like to start is with a bit of a ballsy surface lure. So I
Nice.
had the dilemma popper on and was giving that a couple of casts along this rock wall in the dockland area and was getting nothing. And that's what I assumed to happen. I probably got maybe 10 casts into it, and it's one of those things that if it's on, it's on. It wasn't. The water, I think, is still a bit cold, and I also wasn't seeing bait fish up on the surface or anything. So that was my little wild card. I was happy to put that away. So then I switched over to my spike, and that's the 53 medium running. And I think it was 3 casts, and I was on to my biggest fish of the day, which was
Right.
around about 37 tip.
Okay.
I think it was like a 750-gram fish, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like nearly straight away on the spike. And that's my
Nice.
go-to lure for this area. It works, and it was so satisfying to have that come
Okay.
through. Yeah.
Nice. And what color do you like it?
I should have looked it up before. I keep forgetting what the name is. It's the one that has that flash, like that mirror section on the front, and
Oh,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
purple body.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So early on, you've got a decent fish. So you must have been feeling good.
Yeah. Well, 3 casts in and then getting the fish, that told me everything I needed to know, that this was going to happen. And I just had to put in the work because, like I said, I was treating this as a bit of a social, being really chill about it. And one thing I was focusing on this time round was to take it really slowly. In the past, when I've really cared about a particular round, I get worked up and try to do things quick and cover water, that sort of thing. And what I suspect that leads to is I get my kayak in front of the fish too quickly and it might shut them off. So I really tried this round to keep my distance as much as possible, which is also why I chose not to throw a soft plastic in first and picked the
Sure.
crankbait or the surface lure, so that if I can avoid snagging up, I don't want to disturb these fish. And I do think it made the difference this time around. So I think I ended up getting 2 more fish on the spike, lost another good one at the boat, which I would say stung, but I'm not convinced it would have made the difference.
Sure.
Keep in mind, this day for me was like the same size fish a lot of the time. They were all 35 centimeter tippers, roughly 5 to 600 grams, depending on how
Yeah,
much they've
nice.
eaten.
Sounds good to me. And when you were throwing the spike, were you concentrating on trying to hit structure with it, like bounce it off rocks?
You know
You're
what?
trying to keep
I was, but it didn't. So
okay.
because it's so deep there and so quickly, I initially I was hitting the rocks, but I was actually getting the bites after it had gotten over those first few. So yeah, I'd hit the rocks a little bit, but I maybe only got a couple of bites after that happens. And it's kind of unconventional because quite used to like we all know you sort of slam your hard bodies into the rocks and that tends to get the reaction. This time round, it was when it would come out into the open water just a little bit. And I even got a couple of bites a fair way away from the wall. So there was enough fish stacked up that I was getting those ones sitting in the high water column too, which was really interesting.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. All right. So you got a bag pretty easily. Tell us how the rest of your day played out. How'd the upgrades go?
Well, as I sort of expect, in my experience, the spike bite tends to die off a bit quick. And I think it might, if I was to take a guess, it's related to maybe that it's got a really loud rattle to it. It's quite a big lure. It's got a lot of presence. So after you catch a few fish, I think it's easy for them to get used to.
Mm,
That might not be true because I chose to not fish it anymore, right? I could have gotten more fish on there on that lure potentially. But instead, I swapped to a soft plastic because I wanted to target those fish that were even deeper off the wall.
yeah.
And just so rather than covering area along the bank, I wanted to cover the area going down deeper because that's where they were sitting. So the lure I chose for that was the Bait Junkie Prawn 2.35 inch. This is the little one
Yeah, yeah.
on a 1/30th Bait Junkie jig head. And so, yeah, as soon as I put that back on, even casting back into the shallower section, I was getting bites again really quick. That smaller profile, different bait type. I know there are prawns in this system at certain times of year. I'm not 100% sure if it's warm enough for them now, but they were eating it, so that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And yeah, as I was able to target those deeper waters, I pulled out a couple of good fish, but nothing that was an upgrade. No, that's not true. I got one upgrade on the prawn. And
Okay.
yeah, so it was working nonetheless.
Yeah, that's good. And with the jig head, was it the new covert jig head or was it a traditional jig
You know
head?
what? It was not. I really need to get my hands on some because I think that would have been the pick. But no, I haven't been able to get my hands on any yet. So it was just the standard. But I really like the look of the new covids. I think the coverts rather, because I think that keeping it all hidden, keeping it more natural is 100% the way you want to go.
Yeah, and I think with that lure, like I find it a little bit tricky to rig. The covert jig heads, the shape of the lead lends itself to going into those lures quite nicely.
Yeah. And I think the thing we need to keep in mind as well is that the standard jig heads, a lot of the weight is at the front of it. And
Mhm.
prawns don't necessarily dive down head first, do they? They kind of like,
Not normally.
no, it's more of a horizontal sink. So I think that is good about them. And also, when I'm fishing rocks, this is the one thing that I really wish I had the coverts for is that flat horizontal sink, I think is less likely to get caught up in the rocks because you're not diving head first into them.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah.
Quite possibly.
But hey, it
All right.
worked.
That's it. Well, good lure change. What color was it? Do you remember that one?
Clear gold. It's my favorite.
Clear
I'll
gold.
never
Okay.
forget the name of that one. Yeah,
Do not.
that's my favorite.
It's funny. In my head, before you told me that, that was what was in my head that it was.
Yeah,
So, yeah, very good.
it's good. It stands out really well, even though it's quite a clear presentation. And I catch a lot of yellow belly on that as well. So it's a staple in my
Nice.
box.
Ah, very good. All right. Tell us about the rest of your day.
Yeah. So when it gets to this point where I've sort of exhausted this wall, I've tried both lures. I was now pretty satisfied with the bag, to be honest. I mean, I was coming into it not expecting too much, but I was probably sitting at just under 2 kilos. And so for me in the Port River, I think that's my best bag in there. So I was pretty satisfied. So from then on, I wanted to have a play around with an old favorite lure. I say old favorite, it's always my favorite, the muss. And so I have not caught a brim in the Port River on a muss before.
Right.
I have tried it, but not valiantly. It was a
Yep.
bit sporadic, but I had not caught one yet. And no kidding, I put the mini muss on and I went over to these pylons on this other side of the bank. And I think it was the second cast in and it goes screaming off.
Nice.
Oh, these things work everywhere, don't they?
But you know what? There's been a run in the last, say, month. They've popped up more in interviews than, say, the previous month.
Yeah. It is incredible because it's such a simple lure and Callum's executed it so well. And I think that the fact that they're so snag resistant and they are an excellent profile for one of a brim's probably dominant forage, especially black brim, it's pretty incredible how well they work.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's very good. Now tell us, you hooked up to this brim. Did you get to land it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I ripped that thing out. Yeah. And so this is the thing. When I'm fishing these pylons, I love fishing structure like this because it's really where you're actively fighting the fish, and it's kind of an equal opportunity dance that you have between them. And you don't know how it's gonna go. And so keep in mind these places have bridges that are over the head of me, so it's kind of claustrophobic a little bit. So you're doing the Chris Hickson dance underneath these things.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of fun, really. So I pulled him out. That was fine. Now that I knew that the muscle was working, I just went, what am I doing? I'm trying to upgrade. So bam, the original goes on, go the
Yep.
bigger version, pitch it in again, another fish. And it was just so fun going to each of these pylons. And I think most pylons I was getting a bite off, I'd come back to it and get another one. And I did not land many of them because
Okay.
I would pull the hooks on them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought you were going to say you donated them. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Nah, I do not want to get rid of them. I can't afford that. So I just locked it up, grabbed the spool, and pulled them as hard as I could. And it's just the game. I knew that it was either going to be it was either going to be pulled hooks or a fish in the boat. I was not losing one.
There's nothing in the middle. Okay.
Yeah.
What leader are you running to do that?
I think it was 5 pound.
Okay. So not crazy heavy.
Nah. You don't need,
Okay.
I don't think you need to. At least in my experience and the way I like to fish, I prefer to have 4 or 5 pound. And look, when I'm pulling that hard, if they touch anything, it's going to go anyway. So I prefer to have the easier management of the line by having a thinner line.
Okay. And then what rod are you running?
That was the 681 LFS Infi Z. So
Okay.
it's probably my favorite rod for the kayak because it can do just about everything. And being that shorter length, it's still relatively spongy. It's got a bit of give to it, but it's strong enough to pull fish out if you pull hard enough.
Yeah. Okay.
I think if I had a stiffer rod, I would have pulled more hooks, which is, yeah, just the risk you take. But it was good to have that rod, I think, to at least cushion some of the force I was putting on the fish.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. How did that continue? You've upgraded to the standard muss. How'd you go?
So I think I upgraded twice, which is kind of a testament to the first fish in early morning were reasonable. And so even though I caught quite a few fish, I caught a lot of legals and not many undersized fish at all, which was really nice to do. But the schools that day just seemed to be all of very similar sizes. It was bizarre because often you get the range. You'll have your undersized fish, you'll have your odd 40 plus centimeter tipper, And I just didn't find that. It was just a lot in that mid to high 30s range.
Wow. And in that area, so your fishing structure, did they take it on the drop? Was that it? You basically cast it in? No?
No, they wouldn't take it on the drop. It was always when it was on the bottom, and there wasn't a whole lot of predictability with when they were going to bite it. But it was just a matter of, yeah, you lift the muss around the bits and bobs on the bottom, and eventually one would get it. I think usually I would get it on maybe the second or third slight lift because I don't like to work them like a blade. I just slowly move them around.
Yeah, okay. That's really interesting. All right. And was that it for the day?
Pretty much. I mean, the rest of the day I was dodging lightning bolts along with the rest of the crew
Yeah.
because we had the thunderstorm come across us, and I was so glad that I had my Lovig pants on. They were my brand new ones that I
Nice.
bought from. I think I got them from Hunter Water Sports or Scott Lovig. It was one of the two,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, they are awesome. I was so dry all day. All I had
Yep.
to worry about was the fear of getting electrocuted. So
That's right. That's right. Well, at least you were dry.
yeah, one less thing to worry about.
All right. So you obviously were happy with your bag. You said it's the biggest bag you've got down there.
Mm.
How are you feeling coming into weigh-in? Do you think you had a shot or?
Was very confident that I was in the top five, but we had a field, I think it was of 9 really good anglers. And the Port River, especially in the arm that I fish, tends not to have the big ones.
Sure.
All the winning bags have come from the main channel and the mangrove areas, things like that. So coming into it, I was not expecting it to be as high as a result as it was. I thought you had to get above 2.5 kilos to win it, and it just wasn't the case.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. Interesting.
Mhm.
All right. Well, tell us for second, what'd you get to take home for this one?
Oh, I think it was around about $250 and a swag of sponsorship gear from TT. We got a nice new TT rod, and I'm very, very impressed with it. It's one of those ones that's like kind of an all rounder, which is nice. It reminds me a bit of the atomic arrows that I used to love when I was younger.
Yeah, nice. Nice. Very good.
Yeah, so our sponsors look after us. We had a nice little prize pack. Being the end of the season, they're smaller than the other ones that you get throughout the main rounds. But yeah, TT was really generous and hopped on to support that one themselves.
How good is that? All right, mate. Last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah, I mean, I say it every time, but I really mean it. I think I really want to shout out the team behind the Brim Masters competitions because they put a lot of work into making these happen. We don't have a Brim tournament series in South Australia if it wasn't for them. And they've done a phenomenal job with wrangling in sponsors and collaborating with the Hobie Australia team as well, so that we can actually offer a spot to our AOY champion to go to the championships round. And I was fortunate to take that last year, and I'm pretty sure Paul's now the one bearing that. So he's going to
Yes.
have an awesome time. Yeah, I'm just so thankful for the team and for every single sponsor who is involved with this series because I think it really encourages the sport of fishing in South Australia. We even had the we have kids coming to these weigh-ins now just to be a part of it, and I think that's
Nice.
really awesome.
Absolutely. Mate, that is awesome. All right. Well, look, congratulations again. Thanks for coming on, and I'll talk to you next year.
No worries. Thank you very much, Deethy.
Thanks, mate. Okay, so coming in first place, we have an angler dropping his 3 fish for 2.17, which for the year also left him as the champion angler. He took out Big Brim for the whole year, not in this round, but for the whole year, and also got Angler of the Year. With me, I have Paul Cook. Welcome back, mate.
Thanks for having me, Deethy. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. So I look forward to these chats. So.
Mate, me too, mate. And look, it was a great wrap up. I saw the photo on Facebook of you holding your three trophies representing 3 different achievements. Mate, cracking into the year for you.
Yeah, no, it was unexpected. Is probably the first thing, but yeah, it all came together late in the year. Not just this most recent tournament, but the last one. And yeah, things just clicked, I guess, and you have a bit of luck go your way. And the end result was the trifecta, really. Like, it's hasn't been done before. It's good to do it. I'm sure it'll be done again, but it wasn't an easy achievement. So yeah, pretty pleased with it.
Absolutely. And it sounds like, from all accounts, like you guys had a pretty good day on Sunday fishing this event. It was a good
Yeah,
competition day.
yeah, it is really good. So I guess historically, whilst the port for competitions that we've had has fished well, if we haven't had as many competitors do as well, like from a percentage point of view. Like, everyone caught fish. I think we had everyone but one person weighed in a bag, and the person that didn't still weighed in 2 fish. So like, everyone weighed in fish. The quality of the fish was pretty good, and the reports of the amount of other fish caught, like heaps of legal fish were caught.
Yeah.
It's just that the size was all relatively consistent around that sort of 550, sort of 650, give or take range. Seemed to be the caliber of the fish that were getting caught on the day. But there were so many of them, like big schools of them. Most people were kept busy most of the day. So it's really, really good in terms of the fish. So
Yeah. Very, very cool. All right. Well, tell us, did you get a chance to have a pre-fish?
I did. So roughly a month before I got out. So very similar tides, very similar moon cycle. And that's generally what I try and do, get out a month out. And then if I can, I'll get out 2 weeks. But in this instance, I only got out a month before. And it was horrendous. 8 or 9 hours on the water. I didn't eyeball a fish. I didn't sound up a fish. I didn't see bait fish. Like, literally, like, it was horrible. And there was the thoughts in the back of your mind, like, we've got the algae bloom and that here, and you're wondering, like, has that like come through the port and like decimated it? And literally didn't see bait fish. Like, did not see a single thing. The only, I guess, positive out of it was I spent all of that day up one particular section of the arena. So you can sort of break it into 3 sections. You've got sort of from launch, you go right or south, then you go into the township amongst all the industrial area and housing area, or you go north and then immediately east up the north arm into the mangroves and the shipwrecks and everything else. So I didn't go either of those 2. I just went up the main channel, fished all the flats, the rock walls, all the like the naval section all through there. So not seeing anything was hard, but only fishing 1/3 of the system, you're sort of in the back of your mind, you hope maybe I just got it wrong, I was in the wrong area.
Yeah.
So there was that. And then the weeks leading into the tournament, I'm quite lucky that I live relatively close to the arena. So when I go for a walk on a weekend or something, I'll walk along the promenade. And for the last, I want to say 6 months, but it might be 4 or 5 months, we just haven't seen bait fish or fish life of any description because of the algae bloom. And the water's been it's been quite horrible down this section. But 2 weeks prior to the tournament, everything cleared up. Water was really clean, started to see some life coming back. And then the week before, and then the day before the tournament, there was bait fish. And then you could actually see bream feeding and stuff like that. So it was actually really good. So going from a month out, not even seeing a skerrick of life, to the 2 weeks leading in, the water being cleaner, hearing reports of people catching fish, and then actually seeing bait fish come back through. And then the official pre-fish day, whilst I didn't fish it, I just went for a walk and actually spotted 4 or 5 bream on the one pole, all actively feeding. So I was like, well, that's actually really positive. That's really good. It didn't give me like a plan or anything. And I ended up just going for a quick drive over to one of the bridges that goes over the north arm where the shipwrecks are.
Yeah.
I just had a look at the water quality there. And in doing so, I didn't see any bait fish on the one side of the bridge. When I got the second side of the bridge, not only did I see bait fish, but I probably saw a school of, I want to say 50, 60 bream, all legal and better than legal, and some absolute like real donkeys in there, like real big bream in there. Now, I don't know whether they were just mooching around, window shopping, but I stood there and watched them for probably about 5 or 10 minutes and went, all right, well, A, there's fish life, B, there's plenty of fish. I'm watching them feed in other areas. It gave me confidence to at least go, there will be fish, I just have to have a plan around that.
Mm.
And then that afternoon, I sort of sat back and went, well, there's no point complicating it. And something I did last tournament, and I'm sort of big on this one as well, was sort of that less is more mentality. And specifically by that, I mean less traveling, more fishing, rule out a whole bunch of either tactics or areas I want to fish that I'm no good at, and just stick to the things I am good at and stick to a few things and do those few things well. So I ruled out like fishing deep. I ruled out vertical structure. I ruled out fishing the flats. Whilst I love fishing flats, the flats here I haven't figured out. There just doesn't seem to be much bream life on them.
Sure.
And whilst I love surface fishing at this time of year, I've never done well. So I ruled out surface fishing as well and just focused on edges, or the plan was edges, small profile lures, like 40 mil, maybe a little bit bigger, but generally 40 mil or smaller. And then that sort of bait fish profile and presentation. So that was the main focus. And then it was about just identifying a stretch of water that might only be 500-600 meters in length. And that's the area I'd fish. So I'd be able to spend most of it fishing instead of traveling point A to point B and back and forth. So I didn't want to waste any time traveling. So that was the plan.
Yeah, okay.
So pre-fish, I guess, ruled a lot of things out for me, didn't rule anything in. And then I just thought if I focus on less things and do those less things well, at least I'm in with a better chance. Or if it doesn't pay off, at least know why it didn't pay off. Whereas if you spread yourself too thin, sometimes you're second guessing why things didn't work.
Yeah.
So that was the sort of mentality I went in with. So
yeah, very good, very good. All right, well, tell us about how your day went. Like, it was obviously a good day.
It's a really good day result wise, and it was a bit of an odd day to be fair, just the way it unfolded. But first thing in the morning, so we launched at about 6:00. So we're on the water early. I was at my spot probably 5 minutes from launch. Like I chose not to travel very far, and I was fishing by the time most people were still pedaling. This particular spot I chose was a section of mangrove edge, 2 foot deep at best. You've got where the mangrove edge is, and the water obviously pushes back into the mangroves, but there's a certain depth level where there's a particular point on this mangrove edge where the water comes under the mangrove point, under the branch of the mangrove point, but the bottom of the branches are still in the water.
Yeah, nice.
So once that water level drops and you can see maybe like a foot below them, for whatever reason, the fish are just not there. There's like a 40-minute window where you can fish this point. So I pulled in behind that point. The point also has like a heap of mangrove roots that come out, like the little saplings that stick up, and then a line of oysters all along that before it hits a flat. So there's heaps of structure, heaps of environment for them to be in and around. And I would throw a small paddle tail on a hidden weight up into behind the mangrove point. So I would be downstream of the mangrove point. Water tidal flow is coming towards me. I'd throw it up to the mangrove point. There's a small pocket where you could hit the lure. It'd sit just under the overhang of the tree and then come back out with the water flow.
Okay.
And the idea was that the fish would be hiding under that point that juts out, waiting for everything to come down with the outgoing tide. And if I can get the lure up there, bring it down relatively naturally, they'd see if they're feeding, and if they're there, I'd nail a few that way. I reckon, I won't say first cast, but maybe third cast, bang, straight on. After a bit of back and forth, had it in the yak, and it was a 30 tipper. So I'm like, all right, well, we got one on the board. It's not great. It'll do, but at the start of the day as well. So I've got a plan. It worked. And for context, whilst I've done well at the port before in this arena, I've never done well at this time of year. Like I reckon including free fishes and just ad hoc fishes at this time of year, in the last championship round, I've never caught a legal bream. So this time of year, I've just never mastered. So anyway, so we had the first one in the well. I reckon another 2 or 3 casts later, on again, better quality fish this time, and just rinsed and repeated that pattern. So trying to get the paddle tail plastic up under this overhang and let it come back down with the current and just sort of hop it along. So not a slow roll or anything, just sort of like hop it along. And it was only lasting 2 hops at best type thing.
Yeah, right.
And I had my bag by 6:20.
Okay. Wow.
I had it upgraded by 6:30, and then it went quiet for about half an hour there.
Okay.
So I was ready to move then. So like I said, there's generally only about a 40-minute window this particular patch works, or what I found it works. So there's a flat out the front of this patch as well. So then I moved out the front of it, and I was throwing stick minnows on straight through and just trying to, again, work them back with the water current, hoping there'd be some fish on there. I've seen them during summer, I've seen them just milling around there, but there was nothing there. So that didn't work. In where I was able to fish the front of this point now. So I just threw a handful of casts in there, pulled out probably another 2 brim out of there at that point. They were a lot tougher to get to then. They weren't as aggressive then, and they didn't upgrade the bag at all. So I thought, all right, I better leave it now. I mean, this is probably about, I don't know, 10 past 7, maybe 7:15 in the morning.
Right. Wow. So hour in, you've got, sounds like 6 or 8 fish.
Yeah, I'd say I probably had 5 legals easy, and I'd upgraded at least once. And weight-wise, the fish that were in the well at that point were probably all 600 to 650 grams each at that point.
So you're getting up there.
Yeah, so it's going all right. Now, I had I guess the decision then was, all right, my number one point or number one plans worked really well, but that's done now. It's not going to work for the rest of the day. And I looked up, and the stretch I'd isolated, roughly 500 meters, as talked about, had mangrove edges, it had rock walls, it had man-made like broken rubble, it had bridge pylons, it had shipwrecks, it had a whole bunch of different stuff. So I went down to the bridge pylons where I'd seen that school of fish the day before, messed around in there for a bit, didn't get much, but got 1 or 2 inquiries, which kept me there. I probably spent about half an hour there, to be fair. But I switched over to a divers, that creature, risky critter or whatever it is.
Risky critter, yep.
Yeah. I threw one of those, but I cut it down to a smaller profile because I really wanted that smaller profile. Same hidden weight type setup. Threw it in and got absolutely crunched. Unfortunately, got it out of the pylons, got it out of the rocks, got it under the yak, out of the yak, and I didn't have my drag settings right. I had too much drag on because I was fishing a lot of tighter structure. I didn't want to give him an inch, but in doing so, had the drag too tight and popped the leader just below the leader knot.
Ouch.
Frustrating because it was a good fish. I don't know if it was a kilo fish or maybe just like a 700-800 gram fish, but it was a good fish, really good fish. I was really frustrated with that. And there just must have been a weak point in the leader material. So either I've created that when doing the knot, something else, I don't really know. But yeah, just popped it, and it's frustrating, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I spent, I don't know how much longer I spent there fluffing about for maybe 1 or 2 legals, but not of any size. And then decided to move up to the shipwrecks.
You see behind you?
Oh. Yeah, so I left the bridge pylons, went and had a look at the shipwrecks. I have a love-hate relationship with the shipwrecks. I think the first tournament I fished there just prior to the shipwrecks, maybe 15, 20 meters prior to them, there was a really nice pocket, and I put a 40 centimeter brim out on surface there.
Nice.
Fantastic. But every other time I've gone there, because in the morning the sun is in front of you, it reflects off the water, you can't see through the water, and you can't see into the sun what you're looking at is behind you. So you don't notice the top of the shipwreck, and there's 20 mil of rusted metal right underneath you. There's a body of rusted metal 20 mil underneath your kayak until you're sitting on top of it.
Ouch.
It's just a really nasty place if you're not familiar with it, and I'm not familiar with it. So I spent, I don't know, 5 or 6 casts in and around there and just cracked the shits and left. I was like, no, I can't be bothered putting more on the kayak for something I don't know anything too much about. So I left there, and we're still talking time-wise. This is 8 o'clock, 8:30 at this stage.
Wow.
So there's so much of the tournament day left, and it's been eventful already. I made my way back towards the bridge and back towards one of the edges that's got just a whole bunch of rubble all over it, rocks and broken concrete and other bits and pieces. And again, found a section. So imagine there's a really long straight edge, and then there's a section that juts out quite sharply. And with the water flow, creates just a pocket of, I guess, calmer water. It doesn't create that visible eddy you're looking for, but you can tell there'll be fish sitting behind that.
Sure.
So again, same thing. Throw the same paddle tail plastic right in behind that pocket, watch it come down with the current, just pop across the rocks and the concrete, and just pulled up tight, really aggressive, really tight, quite quickly. Managed to bring it out from the structure, backpedal the kayak out, bring it out, and then once I had it out and I was a bit more in the open, I backed the drag off, Didn't want to pop the leader on this one, so I backed the drag off. Argued with this one for a while. Eventually wrangled it in. You could tell in the water it's a much better fish. Net it, and it's my scales were playing up. Like my scales were flicking between like roughly 900, 950, and then you jump up to a kilo, then back to 950. So I had no idea what time it was. But when we finally weighed that fish at the end of the day, that one stayed in the well. And that was roughly 860, I think, 860 grams. Ended up being the big brim for the tournament of the day. So that was a quality fish to have in the well. At this stage, I've got, I don't know, a 650 or maybe two 650s and what ends up being an 850 in the well. One of the 850s is looking really doughy and really just acting weird.
Yeah.
So like I'd look at it, it'd be upright with all the fish, and then you turn your back and you fish again. Then you look back like 5 minutes later and it's just on its side.
Ouch.
So you pick it up and it's fine. Like you pick it up, it's moving, it like swims off quickly in the well, not that it can go anywhere, like it's active. But it kept doing this. So over the course of the day, every 10 minutes, I'm sort of looking back at this fish and going, what's going on? It's either swimming, not swimming, swimming, not swimming. Got to the point later in the day, I ended up having to swim this fish for like 40 minutes in the net because it was just giving me anxiety.
Yeah.
Fish was fine in the end, but for whatever reason, this one fish just kept like, it's almost like it just preferred to be on its side in the well for some weird reason.
Yeah.
But it just behaved bizarrely. The other fish were all fine, but that one fish was giving me grief. What happened? So at this stage, this is probably 9 o'clock, right? That fish is in the water. The weather turns really sour at this point. Wind, swell, rain, everything. And I was fishing near Lee at the time, and Lee's like, mate, we've actually got to get out of here. We've got to find some cover here at the moment. Things aren't great. So we pulled up. We ended up beaching our kayaks under the bridge, just on some rocks and that, which wasn't fun, but it is what it is. And we just sort of stood there for about 40 minutes, had a chat in the shelter of the bridge.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. You don't really get to be social on a tournament scene, especially on the championship round. So doing that was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, 100%.
And then 40 minutes later, it probably cleared. So let's say like 9:40, maybe quarter to 10, we're sort of back on the water having a fish again. And things were a bit quiet for a little bit.
Sure.
Revisited the same rock edge, fished the rock wall further down. By this stage, I'd figured out a lot of the fish were, or in my head anyway, I was finding them on rockier ground as opposed to an edge that just went straight to a mud flat and left nothing, or even like timber structure. I wasn't finding them there. I was finding them anywhere there was like hard rock or oyster around.
Okay.
So I just persisted with that. Probably spent an hour working this one rock wall and that one point. And during that time, the weather, like the wind was fine, but it would bucket down with rain again, like for 5 minutes, then nothing, then another 5 minutes. And when the weather would turn, then the fish would come back on quickly. So if you were fishing while it was wasn't raining, wasn't blowing, they'd be biting, but it wasn't overly aggressive and it'd be few and far between. But as soon as it started bucketing down with rain or blow up a bit, they would come on the bite quite quickly.
Yeah.
So I fished that point again, that rock point I was telling you about, and frustratingly, in 15 casts, I probably pulled hooks on 5 or 6 Bream easy. And we're not talking like bite, run, pull hook, bite, run, pull hook. We're talking like fight them under the yak, around the yak, all that sort of stuff for like, 30, 40 seconds, easy. And then that just pulls the hook. So I wasn't sure if there was something wrong with the hook. I wasn't sure if there was something I was doing. I wasn't sure if it was just like lodging in bone and then pulling out. Like I have no idea. So
yeah.
Swapped out the jig head, swapped out the hook, like to no avail. It didn't really change anything. It's quite frustrating. I'm assuming there's a bit of angler error in there. I spoke to some of the lads during the day that they all had similar issues. Like they were all pulling hooks at various stages.
Yeah.
And not just on hard bodies with trebles, like plastics with single hooks as well. So that was interesting. But yeah, so at this stage, still the same 3 fish from before we took the break under the bridge. Weirdly, you sort of feel like it's been a massive day, but it's only like 11 o'clock at this stage. There's still plenty of time left. Had another fish around the pontoon, the pylons again, around the bridge pylons, to no avail. The water was really shallow by this stage. The tide had just started to turn. Well, actually, probably turned before that, but it was just starting to fill up. And then probably about 11:30, quarter to 12, I made the decision to go across the other side of the river, and there's another set of a rock wall there. A few of the other competitors had fished quite well and thoroughly in the morning, so I sort of left it alone. But I decided to go throw hard bodies along there, and in particular, the Daiwa Spike, the smaller one, the 44.
Oh, yeah.
There's a section there that's like a small sort of a bay and a point. No real interest through there. And then I got to this straighter section, dropped one really quickly, like straight away. Didn't feel like there was much size to it, so I wasn't overly fussed about it. Put another cast in, got absolutely railed in and around the kayak, had the drag set really tight, wasn't giving him an inch because the weather had kicked right up. So there's swell. I'm fishing sort of against the tide, against the wind. The wind's pushing me into the rocks because I'm fishing parallel to them. There's probably about a meter and a half between me and the rock wall, and I'm fishing sort of parallel and running it and bringing it back down with the tide. So you're trying to like keep the kayak straight and everything else while you're dealing with the fish.
Yeah.
It eventually goes under the kayak and out into the channel. And I'm like, right, I've won this. I can back the drag off. I'm okay. Back the drag off. It took a little bit of drag. It's like it sensed it could take drag. And as soon as it did that, it did a complete 180, U-bolt straight back under the kayak. And you're just helplessly like watching and listening as it just screams off under the kayak, the drag singing, and you're just watching it like you got nothing. And it headed straight to the rock wall. And in my head, I'm like, well, the rock wall's there. Like, it gets a little cove, fine, but it's just a heap of boulders. But then as I looked, it's where it's heading wasn't. There's this massive slab of concrete and a ledge underneath it. So there's a lot of space for it to go.
It's going home.
It went home and it disappeared, and I had my ass absolutely handed to me.
Yeah.
And then you feel it rub and then ping, and it's all she wrote. And you're like, that was a proper one. Like, that's the kilo kicker that everyone wants.
Mm.
And this is probably now 12:30, and you're like, it's been a really tough day in terms of nailing the bigger brim. There's plenty of brim around, heaps of them. Trying to find that one that separates you from everyone else, that was proving difficult. And I'm like, you probably dropped everything there. Like, that's probably your tournament day done. If you can hold on to like a 5th place or a 4th place, like, you're pretty happy with that at this stage. So I retied the same lure, had another version of the same lure. And by this stage, the weather had gotten a bit fouler again. And maybe the only 2 or 3 brim on that little section were unhappy now because one of them had a lure and the other one had dropped a lure. So they were a bit unhappy. They weren't interested. Messed about along that rock wall for a little bit, but it was really difficult to fish. And then slowly made my way. Actually, no, I think I went back across the other side again to try that one more time. But there's probably an hour to an hour and a half left in the day at this stage.
Hmm.
And it's probably only a 20-minute pedal back to launch if everything goes.
So not far.
And I've got plenty of time to fish another spot if I want. But as I'm heading back to the other point again, across the other side of the river, both my legs seized up. So I'm like pedaling, and I physically can't move, and the weather's mental, the swell's mental. I'm like, this is not good. So deal with that, spend another 5-10 minutes just like doing nothing, stretching, trying to like get rid of the cramp and everything. And I'm like, I might actually need all hour just to get back at this rate because I wasn't heading fast at all. My legs were completely cooked. So I just started heading back, and on the way back, fished another rock wall in a completely different, unrelated section for nothing. And then just decided I'm just going to head back. Like, my legs are cooked. You get to a point in the port where if you don't time your return properly, you've got nowhere else to go. So you could get back there with 40 minutes to go, but you've got nowhere to go. So it makes it really difficult if you don't time your return properly. And I didn't time my return properly. So I got back and I probably had, 15, 20 minutes left. I had a flick at a few more rock walls that are like part of like boat ramp launches and marine entries and things like that for nothing, and just went back to the launch site and then spent 15 minutes, put your tag back, all the normal things. So, but yeah, that was probably the day. So keep it as simple as I can. Yeah. Keep it simple. It's a very a very defined section that has a few opportunities or different options. Just limit what I was doing. And this happened last tournament as well, but like, I carry 5 or 6 rods and I tie different options onto them at the start, but I didn't change any of those lures. So those same 5 lures I started with are the same 5 lures I used the whole time. Same color variation, same everything. Yes, I tied on a new version of the same, a duplicate if I lost it, But I just kept things really simple. And what I started the day with, I ended up fishing the whole day with. It worked,
Okay.
like 5 days, but it wasn't like I swapped out 15, 20 different varieties of lures to find what was working. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just tried to keep it simple. So.
Yeah. No, well, obviously it worked. And all in all, I mean, you had some weather challenges and what have you, and pulled a couple of hooks, but in the end, came home with the jockeys.
Yeah, and very surprised to do that. Like you get back to ramp and everyone's got, they go, oh, I've got my 3, or I've got a big one, or I've got 2.5 kilo, or I've got this, or I've got that, and everyone scales way differently to what the actual one weighs. And I knew mine were playing up, so I was like, well, I hope I've got 2 kilos. I'd love to have like 2.2, but I hope I've got 2. And other people are telling me they've got 2.2, or they've got this, or they got that. I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to weigh mine and go deal with everything, and then I'll come back later. And then you get back and you find out that halfway through the weigh-in, and then 3/4 of the way through the weigh-in, like you're leading and you're still in front. And you're like, this is actually, this might actually happen now. So this is actually, it's believable. So
Yeah, no, that's very, very cool. Obviously, you took out the big brim for that one as well, which is nice.
Yeah. It's been a good last 2 tournaments. Like take out both tournaments, take the win, and take big brim for both of them, and then for the culmination of that to result in AOY, result in the overall big brim as well, result in the actual championship as a whole, an AC spot. Like it's been a really eventful last 2 tournaments and a back end to the season. So
yeah, no, that's a fantastic end of the season. Well, tell us in terms of winning, what did you get to take home over all those sort of achievements?
Yeah. So the first place for this one was very similar to first place for the last one. So cash prize and then a bunch of product. The product is obviously sponsor driven. So the last one I think was Diver Bait Junkie. This one was TT Lures.
Nice.
So there's roughly about $400-500 worth of product range. There was another rod in there. There's plastics. There's jig heads. There's like hats. There's other sponsor gear like Hurricane Lures. There's vouchers to the local, like we've got Binks Marine here, which is like our sailing and kayak store, so stuff there. There's muss lures again. So there's all tournament gear that you'd happily use, and then there's like vouchers and cash that you can use for other things. I think because the cash prize is generated from the number of entrants, being a smaller number of entrants because it's a championship round, there's a $300 cash prize.
Yep.
So it's probably like $700-800 worth of prize in total just for winning it.
Yeah.
Big Brim is a Pro Lure pack. It's about $150 worth of Pro Lure product, mainly hard bodies.
Yeah, nice.
That's awesome. So a couple of packs of plastics, a range of their hard bodies, the S and D and X36 range, their hybrid shrimp, their minnow version. So that's all really good. And then AOY is obviously aside from the trophies, the banter, the rights, the prestige and all that. And you get a spot to the Australian Championships.
Winning.
Which is really good. So I was fortunate enough to qualify last year, but I couldn't go. This year, everything's looking like I can go, so I'm excited by that. Just have to figure out the logistics of it all. Like it's in Woy Woy. I've never fished New South Wales or any of that, so just have to figure that all out and deal with that. But no, in terms of the prizes you get from the Bream Master guys, like the sponsors they've got are really good, really generous. I mean, the prize packs they put together are really, really good. We've even had feedback from some of the guys that fish the Nelson round earlier in the year that do a lot of the Hobie rounds. So they've got, I guess, exposure to other tournaments as well. And even they're like super wrapped with the prizes they're getting from it. So they're good quality prizes. They're really good quality products. They're products that we all happily use the next time we go fishing. So yeah, super happy with the prizes. So
yeah, very, very good, mate. All right. Well, look, mate, you wrapped it up very, very nicely for the year. Last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah, the main shout out I want to give, and I do this regularly, but I think it needs to be done, is the Bream Master guys that actually run the tournament. They're all volunteers. There's a team of them that put in a lot of effort and work behind the scenes throughout the year to get these up and running. They work with the sponsors, they work with the councils, they work with anyone everyone they need to get permits and organise the event for, just so we've got something to fish. So really grateful for that. Previously, I think like Alex Williams and Ben Gibbs have run it and done those with the team behind them. This year it's been more Lee Kirshner with the team behind him. But yeah, they do. It's a lot of work they put in, and generally we only see the outcome, but there's a lot of stuff they do behind that. So just a really big shout out to them. It's really good to have access to something like that here in South Australia. So that's the main thing. Obviously, like I really enjoy speaking with you, that the work you do with your podcast gives accessibility to other people that don't necessarily get to, well, for me personally, I don't chase yellowfin Britain. So I'm going to have to school up on yellowfin, I'm going to have to school up on woy, all those things, and I don't have the ability to go pre-fish, but I can go back and listen to prior episodes of yours on that, listen to how some of the other anglers target these fish, or even just their mindset when they go into things. So even the service and the product that you provide us, just as anglers, is really top notch, and really do appreciate that. So
Yeah, likewise, mate. Appreciate you coming on and sharing. All right, mate. Well, look, I want to congratulate you on a couple of great rounds in the back end of the year, taking out all the prizes. And mate, I will see you at Woy.
Look forward to it, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so there you have it, everybody. What a cracking round. Great round for Paul, obviously rounding out his year very, very nicely, just about winning everything. Good to see Josh Bland, obviously a very talented angler. And of course, Ben Harrison, he's a guy who really does the miles, getting up there and taking out third place. Couple of things. I was speaking to Paul, and he, one of the things that came to my mind, if you're in one of these more remote communities and would like to connect with some more people in the fishing space, seriously take a look at the collective. What we've got here is our general challenges and what have you. But what it also is, it's a nice little platform. We run off Discord now, which was surprisingly good. It was not where I wanted to be, but it's turned out better than our former options. But yeah, if you want to connect with a broader fishing community in a more casual way, good place to do it. I mean, there's lots of other stuff going on. We got challenges and Zooms and all this sort of stuff. But if you just want to be part of a group and hang out, I think there might be something into you. To jump over to Bream Fishing Project.supercast.com. I have to look that up, make sure that's right. I'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, definitely jump over there. Look, it's $15 a month. I priced it at the price of a Crank 38. I figure we probably all lose one of those a month. So what's another one? Anyway, if you do, I hope you enjoy it. If you've got any questions, please feel free to shoot me a message. Look, congratulations to the guys at Bream Master South Australia for running such a successful little tournament. They've secured some great sponsors, and it's always an interesting chat. I think sometimes in these tougher conditions, trying to catch your limit of fish and finding ways to do it consistently is really interesting. So thanks for that, and they're always great to catch up with. Appreciate the guys. All right, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll talk to you next week on the Bream Fishing Project.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.